Carousel of Life, Day 26, Civilian Heroes. A Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction written based on the Adrinette April 2019 daily prompts. Before we start, I'd like to apologize to all of you for the large gaps in between updates. The rest of the series is written, so I will be recording over the next few days and releasing on a schedule, along with a few one-shots and other series I've written. I will post an update about the release schedule soon, so stay tuned. With that said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Carousel of Life. Adrien was on edge. He hadn't seen Marinette since the Little Prince photoshoot, and with his weekend jam-packed, their text conversations hadn't gone much further than "Good morning, love you, good luck, how was it, miss you," and the like. Now the flurry of activity, an intensive training session with Kagami on Saturday, homework and preparing for a piano showcase recital, then the showcase and a round of fittings on Sunday, had died down and his heart was catching up. Well-rested and spending more time than usual styling his hair for school, his stomach was doing somersaults at the thought of seeing her soon.
"What's going on, kid? Since when have you gotten so nervous over Bakery Girl?"
"Since she found out I'm Chanois." Adrien used a hand mirror to check out the back of his head. He poked at a stray lock of hair that looked out of place. "I still don't know how she figured me out."
"As if you were trying so hard to hide it," Plag snarked. "What makes you so sure she knows?"
"You were there, Plag. Why else would she bring up Chanois? She knows, but she's not ready to talk about it yet, and that's fine with me." He stated it matter-of-factly, yet Plag's skepticism made him do a quick sweep for cracks in his assumption. A thought struck him that he hadn't considered before. Wait. Could she have meant that she still has feelings for him? He had completely forgotten that Marinette had actually confessed to Chanois at one point in time.
"I don't know, kid, but that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Maybe you got her clues all wrong."
Adrien chewed his lip, watching Plag in the mirror. "But she even touched my ring. It didn't seem like an accident. I don't think I misunderstood. She knows." He sounded less confident this time. It was like a magic eye picture. The more Adrien narrowed in on the details, the less sure he was that he had understood Marinette, as alternative interpretations flooded his mind. Yet, he had walked out of that tent absolutely certain that she was Ladybug and knew that he was Chanois. The memory of Marinette's confession toward Chat admittedly threw him a little. Ladybug made it no secret how disinterested she was in Chanois. It didn't make sense for her to confess her love to him. Not even Marinette acted like she had feelings for his masked identity. She had called him dumb, and they had casually talked about his feelings for Ladybug without Marinette showing any signs of jealousy. Why did she say she was in love with me? Chanois me, I mean. I'm sure she didn't know who I was back then. He mused aloud. If she had loved him like she had said, she either hid it well or had gotten over it quickly. Maybe the confession was a joke, like that fawning fangirl act she had put on when he dropped by her house during Evillustrator.
"You'll get all the answers when you decide to man up and talk to her about it for real," Plag drawled. "I'm not afraid to talk to her," Adrien corrected, clicking off the light as he left the bathroom. "I just don't want to be pushy. We'll talk when she's ready. I trust her. We don't have to rush anything." Despite his words, the doubt that had snuck in was uncomfortable, like an elbow bruise that kept getting knocked. It was a frustrating feeling. One thing was certain in Adrien's mind, though. She had to be Ladybug. Her hints were obvious. This time, when she had told him it was okay to love Ladybug, it was different from when she had said the same thing to Chanois. This time, she had meant to set him at ease about what was tormenting him, what had made him break up with her. And he had told her the real reason he felt so conflicted was because he kept seeing Marinette as Ladybug. Because he kept conflating his love for Marinette with his love for Ladybug and vice versa. How on earth would that be okay with her if she weren't Ladybug? Besides, she had said, "We'll talk about it more later." Adrien squirmed with excitement.
What would there be to talk about if she weren't Ladybug?
Okay, so the chat noir thing is still up in the air, but I'm sure she's Ladybug, Adrien muttered. Don't infect me with your skepticism, Plag. I want to be sure about something.
Oddly quiet, Plag floated after Adrien as he threw his books into his messenger bag.
Kid, I'm not as much of a stickler for the rules as Tiki is, but there are some drawbacks to knowing each other's identities.
Adrien froze.
Hold on. If we know, does that mean we would have to give up our Miraculouses?
Plag swatted the air with a paw.
No. Tiki likes to scare her bugs into thinking so, but there's no such rule. Tiki, Ladybug's Kwame? Yup.
Adrien paused in front of his bedroom door, running a hand through his hair anxiously, making that morning's meticulous styling efforts in vain as it reverted back to its normal artfully tousled look. If Marinette thought she had to give up her Miraculous upon revealing herself, was that why she got so freaked out during the shoot? Do you think she was about to tell me?
You know what I'm gonna say, kid.
I know. I need to ask her. Adrien rolled his eyes. I'm just thinking aloud. I hate being in the dark. But for her... He exhaled a lovelorn sigh. It's worth the wait. Plag made a face of disgust and zipped into Adrien's bag. Due to his nerves, Adrien arrived at school about 20 minutes early. Students were hanging out in the courtyard in little groups, catching up with friends. Adrien looked around for Nino or any of his classmates, hoping to distract himself with some chatter. He knew better than to expect Marinette so early, but he kept an eye out for her anyway. No Nino. Only Alya, whose eyes locked onto him from across the courtyard like a fox spotting its prey. She promptly stood from the bench she'd been lounging on and made a beeline for Adrien. Just the person I wanted to see, she declared, grabbing him by the arm and dragging him toward their classroom. Great morning to you too, Alya, he piped with false optimism as his stomach sank. Sit, Alya commanded once they had arrived, sliding into her bench and gesturing at Marinette's usual spot beside her. Adrien sat, inwardly withering under Alya's sharp glare. I don't like you very much right now, sunshine, Alya stated bluntly. Adrien's pasted-on smile dropped. I know, he muttered. Alya crossed her arms. I was already upset that you suddenly dumped Marinette after I thought you were finally getting your act together around her. And now what's this I hear about you two being back together again? Do I need to start a blog just to keep up with your dating status? Frankly, I'm sick of how you can't seem to make up your mind about how you feel about her. She's got to be dealing with emotional whiplash from the way you've been treating her. Adrien looked mortified and ashamed, yet he had to correct Alya's misconception. Look, I'm not proud of my actions toward Marinette either, but it's not like that, Alya. It's not like I can't decide how I feel about her. Then what is it like, Buttercup? Buttercup? The nickname made Adrien feel even more petty and emasculated. Alya did not humor him with the backstory. Don't get distracted. I'm waiting for your explanation, and it'd better be good. Adrien sighed. I know that I really love Marinette. I've never felt more comfortable around anyone. She's the sweetest, most considerate person I know, and on top of that, she's brilliant and awesome. I can't stop thinking about her and wanting to be closer to her. The way I feel about her has never changed. But you know how I felt. Adrien reevaluated his word choice, trying to be honest with himself. Feel about a certain someone else. Alya rolled her eyes, sick of beating around the bush. Ladybug. Adrien looked around and whispered, Yes, can you not mention her so casually out in public? Nothing to be ashamed of, sunshine. Alya shrugged, unamused. There's no one here but you and me. Keep going. Adrien looked down at his hands, brow furrowed as he debated internally. How much was okay to tell Alya? He wanted to be honest, or as close as he could get to it. Otherwise, what was the point of this conversation? Well, he began tentatively, let me tell you about a stupid idea I had. Go ahead. I thought Marinette might be Ladybug, Adrien whispered. I'd been thinking that for a while, which is why it wasn't easy to get rid of my feelings for Ladybug, because there was always that chance that I was right and it was only one girl I've been in love with the whole time. I mean, how do you emotionally move on from someone you keep subconsciously thinking is your actual girlfriend? If that makes any sense to you. Alya's expression, which had been at first a mix of surprise and indignation, had slid into something thoughtful as he spoke. You thought Marinette was Ladybug? I can't say the theory never occurred to me. Of course, she denied it, but... Wait, hear me out! Adrien waved his hands frantically as if doing so could physically derail Alya's train of thought. I told you it was just a stupid idea. Wishful thinking. I mean, she's definitely smart and gorgeous enough to be Ladybug, but... I mean, we both know she's clumsy and we've definitely seen her at the same time as Ladybug before and... Crap. Adrien inspected Alya's face with horror, trying to intuit whether she had dropped the idea or not. The cogs in her brain seemed to be turning, and the little smirk on her lips didn't bode well. Alya! Now that I think about it... Alya stroked her chin. Have we seen her at the same time as Ladybug? I have! Adrien all but screamed. Anyway, that's not the point. Let me explain. So, I never actually told Marinette about what I suspected, but it was eating me up and I felt horribly guilty for mixing them up in my mind. So I told Marinette we should break up until I got the wires in my brain uncrossed. It's not like I was confused about how I felt toward her or anything like that. I just felt like I was going to end up ruining something or hurting her, and it was better to just take myself out of the equation. Okay. Alya indicated that she was displeased but following. She narrowed her eyes. So, what changed? We talked on Friday when she came to my photo shoot. It helped that some time had passed and we weren't feeling as raw and emotional. She told me that obviously she's not Ladybug, and that made it so much easier for me to let go of her. It was nice to get confirmation so I didn't have to keep agonizing over it. I should have just told her from the beginning and avoided all the trouble. We had a heart-to-heart and decided it had been a mistake to break up. Because it should have been that easy, right? If Marinette wasn't Ladybug. If she wasn't, why tiptoe around the topic? The half-fibbed explanation made Adrien cringe internally, but lying was an unfortunate necessity when he had a double life and there were secret identities. Identities! Adrien thought excitedly. Plural! To protect. At least his explanation struck at the truth, to explain his own behavior to Alya. Lying about that would put their friendship on a shaky foundation, and he didn't want to risk that. So you expect me to believe you just dropped your feelings for Ladybug like a hot potato? Alya tapped her fingers on the desk. The only reason I couldn't let her go was thinking she might be Marinette. I got over Ladybug a while ago. That was mostly true. And you're not disappointed? Alya prodded. No, why would I be? Alya gave Adrien a sidelong glance. I want to believe you, but I don't know if I trust you. That stung, but it was fair. Okay, Adrien forced out appeasingly. You don't have to, but your friendship matters to me, so I'd appreciate it if you could give me the benefit of the doubt for now. All right, sunshine. Alya peered over her glasses at him, disapproving but softer than before. You've got a good heart, and I do want you two to be happy, so I'm giving you a free pass for now. Adrien breathed freely, feeling like he was in the clear. However, Alya's truth-seeking inclinations didn't let her drop the previous topic as easily. If she is Ladybug, though, do you really think she'd just tell you? I trust Marinette, Adrien pressed. She wouldn't look me in the eye and tell me I'm not Ladybug if she were. It didn't feel great to lie to Alya about what Marinette had said, but at the same time, Adrien believed it was true. She wouldn't lie about that, not when the answer held so much weight for Adrien. She was too sweet to play with his heart that way. All the more reason to believe he was right, that he had read between the lines correctly, that she was. What are you smiling about? Alya raised an eyebrow. Just thinking about Marinette. Finally, Alya smiled, a small, bemused smile. She sat back in her seat, confrontational attitude dissipating. You really do love her, don't you?
Of course I do.
When did you realize it? Adrien thought.
Sometime last month, right before my birthday.
And you've really never changed your mind about her? Adrien shook his head.
I've never doubted how I felt about her. The problem has always been totally me. I don't deserve her.
Alya pursed her lips, as if something he had said bothered her. Sunshine, I get it, but I'm still a bit mad at you.
I know, I don't blame you.
Adrien sighed. He presented his cheek and pointed at it.
Go ahead, hit me.
Alya snorted. Are you kidding me? You need that. She socked him lightly in the shoulder. There, justice served. Seriously now, Buttercup, there's something I want you to understand.
What is it?
Alya leaned forward, her expression serious. A relationship isn't something you can switch on when things are going well and switch off when they're not. A relationship is a commitment to care about someone and deal with things together. Adrien nodded, a little annoyed that Alya was explaining something that should have been obvious.
You don't have to tell me that, Alya.
Alya rolled her eyes. Answer me this, Adrien. For whose sake did you break up with her on Thursday? Adrien hesitated.
Marinette's?
Let me rephrase. Who did you think would feel better after breaking up? Adrien suddenly felt exposed as realization hit him and he groaned.
Me.
It was he who didn't want to feel guilty and conflicted anymore. He had gone through with it even though he knew Marinette would be hurt. Oh my gosh, I really am selfish. Exactly, Alya deadpanned. It was harsh and it hurt, but Adrien accepted it, wilting into himself.
I'm the worst.
Adrien, I'm not pointing this out just to make you feel bad. My point is, you need to fix your mindset. If you love her and she loves you back, just be thankful for what you have and go with it.
I know, but it really wasn't that simple.
Adrien, Alya interrupted. Do you think relationships are meant to be simple? Adrien closed his mouth. What did he know about relationships? Alya continued. Nino and I might seem happy all the time, but we have our fights. It's hard to always agree and see eye to eye. Nino used to like Marinette, right? It's not like those feelings disappeared overnight, but he picked me. You don't have to be perfect, okay? Let me put it this way. Were you planning on breaking up with her every time you made a mistake and getting back together once you felt like you'd fixed it?
No, that would be a little ridiculous.
Except, Adrien realized that was exactly what he had been doing. Yeah, it's called being self-righteous.
Self-righteous?
Yes, Adrien, self-righteous. You don't get to decide on Marinette's behalf whether you deserve her or not. If there's something you feel guilty about, grit your teeth and make it up to her. Deal with the issue and work on fixing it together. You don't get to just decide you're not worthy and that she's not allowed to have you. I mean, that's not cool. How could that not hurt her? Do you get it now? Her tone got a little heated toward the end.
Yes,
Adrien murmured.
I get it. It matters that we've chosen one another, and it's okay to make mistakes or have conflicting thoughts. We're allowed to work on ourselves and still be in a relationship.
Exactly, Alya breathed, relieved that Adrien was following. And if you really love her, you'd better value what you have with her, because if you break up with her for real, you can't just expect she'll take you back whenever you're ready. Why don't you cherish her more?
I do cherish her,
Adrien insisted, hackles rising. He felt like his feelings for Marinette were being attacked. Then hold on to her, Alya went on. Breaking up means you don't love her anymore and have no intentions of dating her. Saying you want to break up, then telling her you still love her, that's just being insincere. Keeping her on the back shelf just in case. Don't put her in mixed signals hell. Marinette deserves better than that. Adrien winced. Okay, I get it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that at all. I'm just really bad with all this stuff. I'll try not to be such an idiot anymore. Alya reached out and ruffled his hair a little roughly. It's okay, Buttercup. I'm here to help, and I do understand that you were trying not to hurt Marinette. I can appreciate that, and I'm sure she does too. But sometimes you can fix things without pushing the eject button. Next time, come talk to me before you make any rash decisions, okay? I'm your friend too. I love both of you dearly. Okay. Adrien swept his hair back into place with his fingers. Thanks, Alya-ne-chan. Thanks for not hating me. Alya snorted at Adrien's usage of the Japanese word for big sister. We're good, weeb. He grinned at her. Uncomfortable as this had been, he was thankful he and Alya had gotten to talk and they were back on friendly terms. It was almost time for class to start and the room was filling up with students. When Adrien stood to get to his seat, Nino swooped in and gave him an enthusiastic bro hug. Hey dude, you guys done? You were waiting? Looked like an A-B conversation. Nino plopped into his seat, twisting around to give Alya an exaggeratedly suave look. Hey babe. Alya smirked over her linked hands at him. Thanks for being so considerate, babe. We had a good chat, right, Adrien? Adrien nodded, stomach knotting as he anticipated Marinette's arrival. She came in just before Miss Bustier, and Adrien's nervousness turned to concern when he saw her face. She wasn't smiling, eyes downturned and underlined with dark shadows of exhaustion. As she rounded Adrien's desk, she gave him a shy, sad smile. He tugged her hand. What's wrong? Marinette shrugged half-heartedly. Nothing. Adrien gave her a look. We can talk during lunch. Marinette glanced over her shoulder at Miss Bustier, who was just waiting for her to get to her seat to start class. If you can? Of course. I look forward to it. Adrien winked, hoping a joke would cheer her up. His heart pounded at daring to make a cat pun in front of Marinette. Though he had said plenty of puns to her before, now she knew and it was different. Marinette's face cracked into a real smile. While it helped Adrien relax somewhat, he was still worried about her and anxious about where they stood now. He pulled his phone into his lap surreptitiously to text his bodyguard about not going home for lunch. Now he just had to make himself focus for a few more hours until then. Hey, Marinette. Marinette licked a glob of orange masala sauce from the corner of her mouth, modestly hiding behind her piece of naan. She had brightened up considerably since morning, and by the time they arrived at the hole-in-the-wall Indian restaurant a couple blocks from the school, she seemed to be back to her usual cheerful self despite the shadows under her eyes that hinted at a sleepless night. I hope I'm not overstepping any bounds, but there's a question I really want to ask you. You can ask me anything. What is it? Can I try your chicken tikka masala? Marinette laughed. Of course, silly. Adrien dipped his naan into her bowl, scooping up a piece of chicken with it. That wasn't the question. He hesitated, biting into the naan to buy more time. Marinette put down hers and rested her chin on her palms, gazing at him across the table. I'm all ears. Adrien hummed, realizing he wasn't sure how to breach this topic. Adrien wasn't supposed to know about Marinette's confession toward Shah. Then again, Marinette already knew. He guessed. Maybe this could be a way to lightly test that assumption. Did you ever have a crush on Chat Noir? Whether she did or not, if his assumptions were wrong, Adrien would have expected her to be surprised by the question at least. Maybe get a little flustered. At most, she'd have some sort of extreme reaction that involved flipping a utensil and getting food on herself. Instead, she smiled. A slow smile that started with the tips of her mouth tugging outward and her eyes curving like crescent moons and ended in adorable pink cheeks puffed out by the broadness of her grin and pearly teeth that she hid behind her hands as soon as the smile broke across her face. Adrien fidgeted. The suspense was unbearable. I once confessed to him, Marinette answered after what felt like minutes to Adrien's nerves but was probably only a couple of seconds. Really? But he rejected me and my dad got akumatized. Her eyes sparkled with what looked like mischief, not a hint of discomfort. Wow. Adrien feigned a look of surprise, since why would Adrien have known about Tom's akumatization? I guess he was pretty mad at Chanois. He was starkly aware that Marinette hadn't answered the question. Yeah, but honestly, I was hoping he'd turn me down. Oh? Adrien leaned closer. Why? Confessing to him was a total accident. Marinette ripped off a piece of naan, dipped it into her masala sauce, and popped it into her mouth. This piqued Adrien's curiosity. This was new information and definitely not what he expected her to say. How do you accidentally confess to someone? And a superhero, no less. Well, I sort of panicked and said the first thing that popped into my mind. Being in love with Chanois was the first thing that popped into your mind? Adrien's eyes widened before his expression eased into a smirk. Sure that wasn't a Freudian slip? This time, Marinette did blush. I mean, I had to say something shocking enough that he'd forget what he was about to say. Adrien narrowed his eyes. What had he been about to say? He thought back to that day. It shouldn't have come as a surprise to see Marinette on her own balcony, of course, especially since the Akuma had literally thrown a giant ring into her bedroom. Who wouldn't wake up? Still, the fight had been over and he had assumed she'd hung around to catch Ladybug and Chanois in action, that she was a fan of theirs like Alya. What was wrong with that? She must have thought he was about to say something else. Oh. A light bulb turned on in Adrien's head. Of course, Ladybug would panic about being caught at the scene of an Akuma fight in her civilian form. Adrien chuckled into his fist, giddy to be in the know. What? Marinette pouted indignantly at his laughter. Nothing. Adrien collected himself, the smile lingering. I can't believe you confessed to the illustrious Chanois by accident, that's all. Illustrious? Marinette scoffed lightly. Adrien's expression darkened when another thought came to mind. What if the realization that he was Chanois completely turned her off him? Wait, so you didn't actually like him after all? Adrien questioned, his smile becoming strained. Of course. Ladybug found him annoying. Maybe Marinette was realizing she didn't like Adrien as much as she thought. Nope. Marinette made a face. Not even a little bit? Adrien pressed, starting to get worried. I mean, there have got to be other things you could have said besides a love confession. Marinette groaned and buried her face in her hands. You're never going to let me live that down, are you? Face it, you like him. Adrien sing-songed, hiding his insecurity behind the taunt. Marinette peeped through her fingers. Well... She lowered her hands and rested her arms against the table, leaning forward, her eyes oh so blue, flickering with a teasing gleam. Maybe I'm not as indifferent to him as I first thought. Oh. It was Adrien's turn to flush pink. Maybe he didn't have to worry after all. Maybe she was just playing with him, because it was becoming increasingly clear that this was a game. She knew, and she knew he knew, but they weren't going to acknowledge it. He rejected me though, so there goes that opportunity. Marinette shrugged and fished for a piece of chicken with her spoon. So... Adrien was more serious this time, a bit nervous to let it show how much Marinette's answers meant to him. If Chanois asked you out, and you and I weren't dating, you'd say yes? Marinette swallowed her mouthful. Maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to a date. She winked. Why does that matter, though? He's a superhero and totally out of my league. That wink. She was flirting. She was so Ladybug. More like you're out of his league. You don't need a mask and superpowers to be awesome. Adrien crossed his arms and leaned back. I just wanted to know if I need to keep that stray away from you, that's all. Marinette giggled. You have nothing to worry about, Bogos. Ladybug can have him. I'm all yours. Pretty sure Ladybug doesn't like him that way, Adrien pointed out. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he should check again. Adrien felt warm and his heart was pounding. This was really happening. Marinette was Ladybug and she knew he was Chat Noir and they were flirting. Suddenly, his phone started buzzing like crazy. He pulled it out of his pocket. "Akuma alert," he reported. Marinette's mouth opened in surprise and she took out her own phone. "It's down the street." "Should be safe to stay here, right?" "Yeah." Marinette grinned her cheesy grin, eyes darting aside to the window to check if they could see the action. "I'm sure Ladybug and Chat Noir will turn up soon." "Right." Adrien put his phone in his pocket, then took it out again and made to stand up, only to sit down again. Adrien had no reason to leave. If he left now, or if Marinette left, it would be obvious. Steeling himself, he stood up. I have to go to the bathroom." "Me too," Marinette squeaked, jumping to her feet. Stay safe. See you in a bit." As Adrien ran toward the restrooms to escape the building through the back door, he couldn't contain his grin as he saw Marinette running straight out of the restaurant, not even making a show of pretending to go to the bathroom. Then, a feeling of unfinished dissatisfaction tugged at Adrien as he remembered that he still hadn't asked Marinette why she was upset that morning. If they made this fight quick, there should still be enough time to continue their lunch date before classes started up again. Bien joué! Their usual fist bump, nothing out of the ordinary. The battle felt drawn out, only because Chat Noir was eager to get back to the restaurant to continue his conversation with Marinette, but a quick glance at his baton's timepiece told him it had only lasted a little more than 10 minutes. Ladybug was smirking for no reason. He took hold of her wrist, light enough that a twist and flick could easily get her out, but she didn't, so he pulled her closer. "Hey, Bugaboo. Before you go, there's something I have to tell you." "What's that, Minou?" She stood her ground, blinking at him through smug, half-lidded eyes. Marinette's words drifted back. Maybe he should check again. As much as he wanted to, he felt that the situation called for something more sincere than this game of flirtations, something more symbolic. "I have a girlfriend," he told Ladybug, the words rolling off his tongue freely. "Is that so, Chaton?" Ladybug didn't look surprised. The edge of her mask lifted as if she had cocked an eyebrow, and she studied him languidly. "What kind of girl could have caught my kitty's attention?" "She is beautiful and sweet, brilliant and creative. She'd make a fine Ladybug herself, I'm sure." "I hope so." Ladybug winked. "I'd hate to lose my Minou's affections to just anyone." Ladybug's flirting made Chat's heart flutter. She normally wouldn't act like this. One simple revelation and everything was shifting. "You know I'll always have a special place in my heart for only you, Bug," he sang with an impish wink. "Sorry, but you'll have to share your place in mine," she quipped back, putting her hands on her hips. "I'll have you know that I have a boyfriend, and my whole heart belongs to him." "Oh, you'd let me share with your boy, Bugaboo?" Chat leered. "Well, that's a marvelous surprise. I didn't think you'd let this kitty in at all." Ladybug giggled. "I let you in a long time ago, Chat Noir," she answered earnestly, dropping the playful tone. She reached out to ruffle his hair and scratch behind his false ears. Chat Noir closed his eyes blissfully, a purr rumbling out from his chest. If she wanted to take her time, he didn't mind. Marinette was already seated at the table when Adrien returned to the restaurant. In stark contrast to her former cheer and Ladybug's playful coyness, she looked downcast, staring out toward the windows with a vacant look. She seemed lost in thought and didn't even notice Adrien approaching until he pulled out his chair and collapsed in it. She smiled weakly. "Hey, Marinette," he greeted softly, touching her hand that was resting on the table. "You okay?" "Yeah." She didn't elaborate, speaking in a small voice. "Did you find a safe place to hide?" "Of course." The restaurant hadn't been under attack, but logic didn't matter. They both knew it was just a charade.
You?
Yeah. Adrien moved his fingers between hers and looked at her until she met his eyes.
Hey, you said we'd talk. Is it the same thing that was bothering you this morning?
Marinette nodded. She tried to smile, but the corners of her lips trembled and she looked down.
You can talk to me.
It's nothing, just a fight with a friend.
Alya?
No, someone else. Someone very close to me. She doesn't go to our school. Adrien knew Marinette well enough to know that she didn't have any very close friends who didn't go to their school. She had been going to school with the same classmates ever since École, and she never talked about anyone else. She doesn't agree with what I'm doing, Marinette explained, drawing spirals on the back of Adrien's hand. She stopped with her thumb resting beside his ring. Adrien recalled what Plag had said about Ladybug's Kwame being a stickler for the rules.
Oh.
Marinette met his eyes and he nodded silently, letting her know that he understood. He got up and rounded the table to slide into the chair beside her, pushing it over until it bumped into hers, then wrapped his arms around her tightly and pressed a kiss to her temple.
Don't worry, princess. We don't have to rush. Everything will turn out okay. We're in this together.
She nuzzled into the crook between his jaw and his shoulder. Love you, she murmured, sending a tingle of warmth into Adrien's chest.
Love you more.
He rested his cheek on her head. Thank you for listening to Carousel of Life. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to show your support for this channel, please leave a like and a comment below and subscribe for future updates. Until next time!